My name is Tim Phillips. I am the Managing Director for CBD Intel. We are a UK and Spain-based business intelligence service for the CBD sector. We provide legal data on CBD regulation around the world, and we provide market data on both from a consumer perspective and also from a brand and product basis on what products are in the market and how they're selling. It's a tool for serious companies that want some strategic advice to get their way around the regulations that exist and understand what their competitors are doing. So we focused on a very narrow area of the cannabis sector. And funnily enough, when we started it just over a year ago, many people thought that CBD was very much a minority interest as part of the wider cannabis sector. And I think certainly within Europe and potentially more around the world, it's become a much bigger area of focus for lots of the cannabis companies that were more focused on recreational and medical. So it's certainly become much more of an interest to the wider cannabis sector. We were previously focused on e-cigarettes, and we have a sister publication called eCig Intelligence, and that has been going for nearly 6 years now. So we're very well established in that sector. We provide data to the FDA, for example, in the US, and the data has been used over here by the European Commission and by the British government. I think there's a lot of parallels between the development of the vape sector and the new development of CBD. And I think there's clearly different regulatory regimes for each, but a lot of the way the market is growing is very similar. It's a grassroots movement. It's a controversial sector. There are lots of kind of regulatory hurdles to get over in different markets. And again, the market is growing in a very similar way to vaping because there are lots of companies, there's lots of different products. Consumers are quite confused about the different products that are available. So a lot of the learnings that we've had in the vaping category, I think, are very applicable to CBD. There's a lot of money now flowing into the cannabis sector, and I think, as I said earlier, I think that a lot of that money has also realised that certainly in European markets, CBD is very important. It's going to be a very important future for the cannabis sector as a whole. I think one of the most important things for investors is to really understand what's actually happening rather than what people are saying might happen in 10 years' time. And so, I would say this because I'm a data guy, right? But I think that the investors need to have actual data of what's happening on the ground and actual information about how the regulations are developing and how different countries are developing their policy towards CBD. And I think there's too much information out there that is claiming things that are not based on facts. And unfortunately, I think because there's so much investor interest in this sector, there's a tendency towards people exaggerating how big the market is, how fast it's growing. So I think investors obviously need to take some care, but they need some proper information, and they need to really talk to companies. They need to identify companies that are potential investor opportunities, which are companies that have some real basis behind them, some real sales, some real understanding they're doing things right. There are quite a lot of companies that we're starting to see that are certainly not very interested in quality standards, in making sure that they're compliant and making sure that they understand the regulations that they exist under. Market data in the CBD sector is incredibly important, and understanding what is going on in a fragmented and very opaque sector is hugely important. No one has a full vision of what's going on in CBD, and we are trying to get to that understanding through various means. We track a lot of the products on the market, and we also carry out a number of surveys, both of consumers of CBD and of retailers and manufacturers. We're doing a survey right now in conjunction with Hemp CBD, and it's a survey of manufacturers, and we would love to get more people to feed back into that process. The more data that we can get, and it's on a completely confidential basis, but the more data we can get, the better we can represent this industry to people who are likely to regulate in the future. And I think that's one of the big drivers for people, and it should be a real reason why CBD manufacturers and brands want to get involved. My personal view is that there's going to be a readjustment in the investment and the valuations of some of these companies. And in fact, interestingly, I quite look forward to that moment, because I think it will start to cut out some of the companies that perhaps are not really here for the long term, and it'll start to bring together an industry that is going to strategically kind of move forward to the next stage. So the show for me in the NEC earlier this year was amazing for a first show. It was one of the largest shows I've ever been to of the first of its kind, if you like. Generally, shows take a few years to get going, people hear about them, and it starts to get more popular. This one was really well attended, a lot of companies exhibiting, and it has a real buzz about it. So it had that real feel of a sector that is bubbling up with enthusiasm. The reason why I think people should attend the show later this year is that it's a bringing together of the entire industry, and CBD is getting bigger and bigger, but to really understand what's going on, you really need to come to an event where you can see all the different facets of the industry. You can get people who have legal and data like we do, but also companies that are providing services to the sector, see what your competitors are doing, really understand how that sector is growing. I think it's hugely important to be there. Come and see us at our stand in the show in September. We would love to see you. We've got some interesting data, as I said, from some of the surveys we've been doing, but we'd also love to show you some more of the things that we're doing over the next few months.